What is up, guys? Hope you're doing well. I want to share a testimony, diving in a little deeper to a story I referenced in a sermon I posted the other day titled Discipleship. And the testimony, guys, goes back to my days at Houston Christian High School. And I've also realized that I have not really shared much about schooling related testimonies. Okay, so this one's not really that schooling focused, but I gotta give HC some props because I'm so thankful for this. And that is that junior year, it was the first year ever that this elective was offered. And it probably is not offered anymore. I'm not sure how many years it made it. But they offered an elective titled Discipleship. And I took it. In first semester, we spent just a lot of time reading books, coming up with definitions, just studying the topic in principle. What is discipleship? What's the biblical precedent, etc. And then, spring semester, we did discipleship. Our primary homework, our primary grading was to make a disciple. And so I was required for my grade, to reach out to someone in the school or someone that I knew and ask them, hey, can we meet every week or every other week? I think we did every week though. And talk about God, read the Bible together. Maybe I'll prep a lesson, whatever. And thankfully, testimony number one, or number two maybe, is that a guy said yes to meet with me. Praise the Lord. Testimony number one being that this class even existed. And this was junior year of high school. Was like my first full school year where I'm dedicated to following God. I was not particularly good at it, whatever that means, honestly. But, spring sophomore year was like my 180 moment, in a sense, in terms of my spiritual direction. And so in my most formative year, like my first year as a baby believer following Jesus, like the thing I'm pushed towards, like the different thing, the new thing, the zealous thing, was this thing called discipleship. I already had some rhythms of church, Sunday school, chapel services, Bible class at school, like those were built in, and so they didn't have a lot of emotion tied to them. They were there before I was, devoted to the message, and they were there after. And so the one thing that was different, other than my internal desires to follow God, was discipleship. And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. I cannot believe how thankful I am for that. And I'll share a little bit about why. Because the meetings themselves, like anytime you do something for the first time, you're not that good at it, right? Like, I was not very effective. I shared in my sermon that the guy that I was meeting up with literally would fall asleep in the middle of our one-on-one conversations. Like, I was not effective in that sense at all. But I wasn't actively destructive. I wasn't manipulative, or I didn't make it harder for that guy to follow God, probably. But I got to see, and then so I got to keep growing with it. For me, it wasn't just a class. This was like a commission, a reality of the Christian life, through studying it, through practicing it with this, with peers in your class, with a teacher that's kind of overseeing you, and it being my first full year of following God. It got into the bedrock foundation of my Christian worldview. And the timing of that is so out of my control, right? If I got introduced to something today about what it means to follow God, it would not so easily just convert into the framework of my worldview. You know, like if there's something that I've never done before, never really heard talked about before, and hey, let's string a few verses together, let's read a few books, and oh my gosh, now I'm doing blank. Like, I wouldn't be able to throw out, 12 years or whatever of history in order to adopt something different than that, or if it in any way like clashed with that. But at that point in my life, I didn't have that history. Like, I'm looking for, what does it mean? What is it? And so discipleship got into the core of who I am. So senior year, I got to make another disciple of another guy. And I wasn't graded for it. I didn't have a class for it. It's because it's not, this is what we do now. I'm a Christian, like, this is what Christians do. Of course, most don't, but like, I wasn't really concerned about that. I'm just like, I want to live the most idealistic scenario possible in terms of my obedience to the Word of God in this thing called the Great Commission. And I got to see growth, right? Like the guy I met with senior year, very just a lot more fruitful than the guy I met with junior year, and both are amazing guys. It's just like the Lord helping me, giving me grace. Then I go to college, freshman year of college. I thought I for sure can't make a disciple this year. That's a bummer. But at least maybe for the first time ever I could be discipled. That would be awesome. And I was discipled. And then I did get to make a disciple. Which if you find the YouTube video titled God Wouldn't Let Me Sleep, you'll hear the testimony of how I made a disciple of a guy that was a super senior when I was a freshman. Did not think that was possible. Then, sophomore year of college, I start life group leading at my church. And this is the zoom out. One reason I'm so thankful for that discipleship. Ooh, oh man, that might have sounded all gross up in your earbuds. Sorry guys. Why I'm so thankful for this discipleship class is because sophomore year I start life group leading, and for 10 years now I have been super involved in this network of churches called Antioch. And discipleship is a big talking point within Antioch. They don't go extra biblical with it, but like, it's definitely emphasized, it's encouraged. It's like the one thing, if you could like, and I mean every lead pastor would probably have their own take on this, but if I could just average all the lead pastors together and we pull them all, and like, what's the one practical, like, missional activity that you want to see everyone in your church take a part of? It's probably going to be making discipleship. And what our church normally means by that is similar to what I had gleaned in that formulation year, junior year of high school, of just simply meeting consistently with someone in a relationship that has that context of, I am here as your friend, of course, as your brother, of course, but I really want to help you, sharpen you, keep you accountable. I want to push you to follow Jesus better than you could have without this relationship. So it's not even necessarily that I'm further along or that I'm better. Like a personal trainer in fitness doesn't have to be stronger than every person he trains. It's just, hey, in this role, in this setting, I'm here to train you. I'm here to push you, right? And so our church emphasizes it. And so in the past 10 years, I've gotten to disciple so many people. Like, I don't know the number. I have no clue. Maybe 100 around there, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but like a lot of people, right? For a 28-year-old about to be 29, look out, coming up into my prime. Like, I've gotten to to matter to so many people. I've gotten to invest in so many people. Not all of them would just like sing my praises. Oh my gosh, Jeremy's so great. The point's not me. The point is, this is a spiritual discipline that I've taken seriously in my personal life before joining this church movement that really strongly emphasizes it. And the reason I'm so thankful for that is because it's saved me from burnout. It saved me from church hurt. Like a lot of people, like if I have not been introduced to this before and then I go to a church and they're telling me to do it, people like it can wear on you, right? Like it can feel like harder to understand the depth of the biblical commission and to just succumb to, oh, I just have to do this because I'm a leader in my church, or oh, I just, the pastor's making me new disciples, like, and you lose vision, you get grumpy because it's difficult. You're sacrificing, you're making space in your life for something that you wouldn't have to otherwise, and you're not getting paid for it, and you're not getting praise for it. Like generally, you might get something opposite of praise for it. You might get the entitlement or the frustration with someone you're discipling that wishes you could do more for them than what you're currently doing, and not feeling loved enough. Like this, this is what it is, right? It's in the weeds with people's lives and problems, and so anyways, I've for 10 years been in a culture that really pushes discipleship. They're not so pushy, we are not so pushy out here in Antioch. But if you don't, like if I didn't have a foundation of discipleship that superseded my church involvement, it would be easier for me to get it twisted. It would be easier for me to feel some level of tension, frustration, difficulty, confusion. It would just be harder to like really to walk it out as much as I've been able to walk it out. Like to say, oh, I've gotten to do this with 100 people in the past 10 years. Like that would not have been possible if just theologically, conviction-wise, the value wasn't laid into me before I got involved in this particular church network, and also before I got too developed as a Christian. And so, man, just some sovereign stuff, right? Like, if I had been devout, if I had been a devout Christian from age 10, then I'd already have, 6 years under my belt by the time I got to that discipleship class. It might not have been so bedrock formulative for me. Or like if I had been going to Antioch for my whole life, if I grew up in a town that had one and that's where we went, like it would be formulative, but it would be also very culturally associated. And so maybe there would be that back of the head thing of, is this being overemphasized, or do I really think this, whatever. Every church has their strengths and weaknesses, so it's not for better or for worse, but like like if you go to a church that always talks about something and other churches talk about it less, at least some portion of that value for you is going to be associated with the specific family you're a part of. And for me, it's not, right? And so I'm just so thankful for God's sovereign timing, and I'm really thankful for that class at Houston Christian High School, because it has paid dividends, right? Not really for me, like I'm not like, it's really inconvenience to me, like I don't like I don't get anything out of it, like intrinsically. I do experience joy and like a little bit of fuel, like just some fire, some excitement, some passion to see other people take brave steps towards glory in God. Like that pumps me up. But like I wouldn't have to get that from that setting, like I am thankful to be used by the Lord, but by and large it's something that I do to serve, to give, to love, not like rising some rank Like, no one's counting how many people I've discipled. No one's like tracking who are the guys that I've discipled and how are they bearing fruit or not. Like, um, it's just a value. It's just who I am. And that's even a cool added angle of the testimony I shared, I think, yesterday, about this guy that reached out to me, wanted to talk, etc., had just found me on the internet. And I'm like, how crazy is it that, like, you find someone on the internet and then it's like, hey, I want to talk to that guy, and, like, can I get his counsel? Like, that, it's something supernatural, that I feel like God has done in me in this area of discipleship, that he wants to keep doing in me, and that I'm convinced is the most, other than making disciples of my immediate biological family, like making disciples of other people, to me, it feels like the most impactful thing I'll ever do, more than making $1 billion, more than starting however many businesses, like, it's the one-on-one, the one-on-four, the meetings, getting in the weeds of people's hearts and minds and steering them towards glory, that is like, you just can't replace that with a podcast. I don't care how many people listen to it. There's only something the Apostle Paul said. He said, though you have 1,000 teachers, or though you have 1,000 counselors, or though you have 1,000 guardians, you do not have many fathers. And he shared that with, I think, the Corinthian church. And I'm like, oh, how true is it, right? How true is it? We got opinions everywhere. Teachers, insight, instructors, people that are willing to give their 2 cents. It is not hard to find. But to find a father, to find someone that will take personal responsibility, personal cost and sacrifice and defense and protection and investment into your growth, even at their own expense, it is hard to find that person. Ain't a lot of people in the cubicles next to you trying to do that. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to do, right? And I'm not great at it. I'm not, again, this isn't like, I am chief disciple maker, but the need is like, I just think it's, the opportunity for impact is amazing. Amazing. Hard to replace. So hey, Houston Christian High School discipleship class, 2010 to 2011. It started something a little bit spooky, a little bit crazy up in here. So I wanted to share that testimony. Maybe I'll share some more Houston Christian High School or St. Mark Lutheran elementary and middle school related testimonies, because I'm sure I can find some things that God did to form me and to shape me. But discipleship class, that one's up there. Hey, thanks for listening. That's all I got for y'all today. Life is worship. God is love.